Welcome, welcome, welcome. First off, I want to say welcome to everyone watching this live and watching this on replay. I cannot thank you enough. I appreciate you. I can't thank you enough. All right. First of all, I want to address one thing right off the top, and I don't know exactly why this is happening, but it's been brought to my attention, so I want to address it. So it appears like people's comments have been being deleted in the last week. I've noticed it myself, but a few people have brought it up to my attention, and a few very, very good members of the channel. And I don't know why. Realistically, I've probably deleted one or two comments in the last year, and I haven't deleted a comment in probably 9 months. I never delete comments. I absolutely never delete comments. So I feel very bad. I want to apologize to anybody whose comments were deleted. I love reading the comments, and the people's comments who were deleted, I would never even think to delete their comments. So again, I apologize. I'm going to continue to look into why that's happening, because even if I disagree with you, which I love disagreement. I love when we don't agree, but I'm going to look into that. And also too, I think I know one of the reasons why, but we'll get into that another time. Today, we probably have a lot of things to talk about, a lot of interesting things. Right off the bat, you've seen the headlines. We're going to talk about the New York Mets, Andy Martino, David Stearns. How much money do the Mets have to spend? And how the heck does Andy Martino know? So we're going to get into that right off the bat. Then we're going to get into David Stearns and his response. He was actually on with John Heyman, Joe Sherman. Today, he gave a lot of good responses on the show. He told us fans what is going on for this year. How much money does he have to spend? He actually went over that. So we have the answer right from the horse's mouth. So I'm going to go over that as well. But right off the bat, so let's talk about this Andy Martino guy. And Andy Martino, he's a guy who's been on SNY. He's a guy who's supposed to be really plugged into the New York Mets. If you want to know what is going on with the New York Mets, Andy Martino should know. But does Andy Martino know everything? Obviously not. Nobody knows everything. But what's been causing a lot of controversy in the last day or so is Andy Martino said on SNY that the Mets are virtually done spending, that they have maybe $10 million left, and that it'll go towards a bullpen arm. And now this is causing a lot of controversy on everywhere, articles, on the radio, everywhere. Everybody's up in a stir because you're talking about the richest owner in all the sports, and not all the sports, all of MLB, and you're saying that he's going to be capped out at $10 million? Like, he's already spent close to $320 million, has the highest payroll in MLB, and you're telling me that he's only got $10 million left to spend? It is ridiculously funny. It is funny. So why does this guy say it? Does he truly believe it? Does he want attention? Is he instigating? Is it just like, a slime ball thing to say? I don't know. But here's the thing. What he does know is that money spent by Steve Cohen in the offseason is something that the fans are always on top of, because we know we have the richest owner. So if Martino says, hey, we're not going to spend anymore, that is going to irk the fan base. The fans are going to be upset because the reason why we have Steve Cohen is so we can spend. It's so, there is no limit. There is no cap. So for this guy to come out and say, hey, you know what? There is a cap. There is a limit. Like, who the heck are you? Are you in management? Are you in the front office? Is Steve Cohen consulting with Andy Martino and telling him, hey, Andy, I think it's $10 million and we're done? No. Okay, so David Stearns kind of responded to this. So we're going to get into that in our next sort of segment. But I just found it amazing. I mean, you turn on a radio, any type of radio today. It was on many different shows about talking about the Mets being done with their spending, and that is me. I found that absurd because why would the Mets even offer that information? Which teams offer that information? I don't know any beat reporters reporting like, oh, the Padres have $7 million left. Oh, the Astros have $50 million left. Like, this is not even something that's normally reported, but it just seemed like Andy finds a nugget that will get the Mets fan base all up in arms, and this is it. This is it. The amount of money that the Mets are spending in the offseason, like I said, is a big concern for Mets fans because that is known as our advantage. So basically, Martino's like, oh, your number one advantage. We're not even going to be able to take advantage of that. So I think it's just BS right now. I think it's just a guy just trying to piss off Met fans. And you know what? If that's the way he gets attention, fine. But I think David Stearns and Steve Cohen are going to prove this guy very, very wrong. And it just really shows you how much these insiders really don't know. Because why do you just offer out information like that? Like, you just like nonsense stuff. Like, that's a nonsense, that's a nonsense topic, about $10 million left, just one bullpen arm. No, the Mets, if they see an opportunity out there, they are going to pursue it. They're going to pursue it. Bottom line. Doesn't matter what Andy Martino or anybody says. And like I said, David Stearns was on a show today with John Heyman, and he addressed that situation. And like I said, we're going to get into that momentarily. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any of the quotes. So again, Andy Martino said that adding a guy like JD Martinez or Justin Turner does not appear to be in the cards. Okay, all right. So whatever, we're done with Andy Martino because this is just him trying to get attention. So today, David Stearns was on a radio show with John Heyman and Joe Sherman, and they asked him a crap load of questions, and a lot of these questions were pertaining to budget, were pertaining to the moves that he has to make for the rest of this offseason. So I found that very, very interesting, and I want to go over some of the questions that they did ask. So the first topic that they got into was Pete Alonso. The first topic they got into with Pete Alonso and Joe Sherman and Heyman. They said, okay, you said that Pete Alonso is going to be our opening day starter. And, David Stearns smiled. Yes, Pete Alonso, I can guarantee, is going to be our opening day starter. So then Joe Sherman responds and says, okay, what are you going to do with him at the deadline? Will Pete Alonso be traded at the deadline? Will he be traded? And David Stearns says the deadline is a long time away. I'm going to focus on the here and now, and the deadline, when we get to it, I will focus on it. So Joe Sherman automatically responds, so you're not committing to Pete being here the whole 2024 season? Stearns smiled. So I don't know if Stearns just didn't give a well-developed answer, but he didn't automatically say Pete is going to be here for 2024. But I really think that it really depends on the direction of the team, because as John Heyman and Joe Sherman continued to talk, they were saying, like, are you expecting to compete? The team doesn't look like it could compete with the likes of Philadelphia or the likes of Atlanta. The team looks like, it doesn't look like a competitive team. So David Stearns responded, our goal this year and every year is to make the playoffs. I expect to make more moves from now and into the trade deadline. So David Stearns committed to Met fans that he will remain very, very, very active. So that was very good to hear. And David Stearns traditionally has been a guy who has always wheeled and dealed. and he confirmed that that's going to be his philosophy. Just wanted to say hello, everyone. BMW, how's it going tonight? Daniel, Game for War. Game for War. I just want to put what you wrote. Martino works for SNY, which is still owned by the Wilpons. The Wilpons just keep sabotaging Cohen's Mets. But what's the, I know, okay, yeah, the Wilpons own SNY, but like, what's the point of like Martino sucking up to the Wilpons? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, does he just want to make Cohen look bad? Oh, I mean, the Wilpon regime didn't spend any money. The Wilpon regime spent money in like 2 or 3 years. 2006 when they got Beltran, and obviously they signed Piazza years before that, but there were like 2 or 3 times in like the tenure that they own the team that they spend money. So Cohen outspent the Wilpons in his first and second year. So spending money is something that you cannot compare to the Wilpons. Steve Cohen has spent the money. He just hasn't really spent it in the correct way. So if Martino has the ability to take these little pot shops, like, oh, yeah, he's only going to spend $10 million left. I mean, that's just not accurate, because as we as I'm talking about the interview with a Heyman and Sherman, he spoke about that. We're going to get into that. Howdy, Game for War. All right. And, I don't know if anybody heard my beginning and stuff like that. If anybody's comments are being deleted, let me know. Let me know. A couple good members brought it to my attention. I don't delete any comments, even if they're negative. I don't delete any comments. I may respond and say, hey, you know what? I want to point out that YouTube may block your comments because it might imitate bullying or harassment, but I don't delete any comments. So please let me know if your comments appear to be being deleted, because I don't do that. Okay, so then in the interview, they asked David Stearns, they said, like, how are you satisfied with the moves? How are you satisfied? You obviously fortified the starting rotation. You fortified the defense with Bader. How are you happy with the path that you went down? So David Stearns responded like this. He said in the beginning of the offseason, he had multiple different paths, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then he said, this one that we went down is a path. I kind of took that as, all right, you know what? The guy's this wasn't the best path. It wasn't plan A, plan B plus, plan B minus. I kind of taught, when he said this is our path, I kind of said, he's not the happiest. I kind of felt that Stearns wasn't the happiest about these moves, but he felt that these were the best moves available. But it was just funny. Like, if you want to go listen to that question when they asked him, are you satisfied with all the moves? But he did say that we have depth option. We have different options, different pitchers. They're all a bit different, and they provide us with an opportunity to do different things. What David Stearns did say is that it's going to be very important this year to play the young kids. We have to figure out what the young kids could provide to the MLB team, to the major leagues. This year, 2024, David Stearns kept saying over and over how this year is the year that we have to figure out if these guys can play, if Mark Vientos can hit, if Brett Beatty can make it, if the pitchers in the minor leagues. He said that we have to find pitchers from within. So the pitchers that we have down in the minor leagues, Hamill, Christian Scott, the list that we have down there, Blade Tidwell, he said that these guys have to be given an opportunity this year in 2024 because we need to know pitching is scarce. And obviously if you go on the free agent market, you're going to have to pay an arm and a leg. So this year you can expect these guys to come up because that is part of David Stearns' plan. These guys are going to be given the opportunity, and our youngsters, our offensive guys, people are saying that, hey, Drew Gilbert might not come up till 2025 and Jet Williams 2025. But, whether these guys are going to be on the team, throughout like the duration of their career, or if they're going to be used as a trade chip, I believe David Stearns wants to know, can all these guys play in the Major League Baseball. And if we do have a logjam at a specific position, then he knows, okay, you know what? We have 3 or 4 shortstops. Jet Williams might be expendable, but we saw how good he played. Now I could maybe put him in a deal for a top-tier pitcher. So it was interesting in the fact that we are going to commit to the young kids, which I want to hear that. I want to know if my kids could play. I really want to know. And we've built a pretty decent farm system with regards to offensive players. We have a lot of good offensive players, and I want to see if these guys can play. Surflower player, how's it going tonight? Hopefully, you're having a good night. Game. Who else hires a Yankee fans to cover the Mets? Is Martino a Yankee fan? I don't know. Is that really confirmed, or are we just guessing based upon his opinions? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he is a Yankee fan. The funny thing is, I always took Martino's reports like I gave it a lot of credibility. But like the more and more I see his tweets, I'm like, this guy is really trying to it seems like he's really trying to piss off the Met fans. I don't know how to say it other than that. He's really trying to get the Mets fans angry. And I just don't understand it. I really don't. I really don't. Does maybe he gives them joy and then he plays like kind of like, like a little silly, like, no, I'm just reporting the fact. If I'm Mets ownership, if I'm the front office, I tell this guy nothing. This guy, he puts his little negative slant on it. Give him nothing. There's other Mets beat reporters that you can give this information to, and then they can convey it to us. I'd rather get my information from I'd rather get it from Anthony DeComo or other guys. I'll pass on Andy Martino. I really will. And it's funny today, like I know everybody's talking about like all the radio guys, going nuts about like the Mets not spending a lot of money. I just don't understand. Like this guy says something and everybody believes it like it's true. So I was just really happy. It's no surprise that David Stearns today made the rounds and he was speaking to the public and he was saying, David Stearns, and I got the quote here when they asked him about the budget. He basically said, we're going to be the highest payroll in Major League Baseball. And Steve Cohen, if you present him an idea, he will consider it. He will consider anything. So this $10 million thing is nonsense. It's nonsense. They asked him, are you going to be interested in another starting pitcher? He said, yes, if it's a good opportunity, we will be interested. We'll be interested in another hitter. We'll be interested in possibly another pitcher, another bullpen, anybody that will make this New York Mets team better for 2024, he will consider. Now, the market has been very slow. You got a lot of big free agents right now still trying to get a crap load of money. You got like the JD Martinez, the Bellingers, the pitchers, Blake Snell and Montgomery. Their market, I don't know if it's still developing, but they're obviously still negotiating. Now, the thing I was upset about, and I'm pretty sure that all of you were upset about, was Imanaga signed last night with the Chicago Cubs, and he signed for a very reasonable contract. A contract similar to what the Mets have been giving out. So that's why I was very shocked that as of last week, we kind of went cold, dead on Imanaga. So I'm like, wow, maybe he wants a crazy amount of money, or maybe he's just not interested. So he didn't want a crazy amount of money. He only wanted $14-15 million a year. That's about the money I'm pretty sure Steve Cohen and Stearns would have been willing to give him. And then they saw how successful Kodai Senga was. Kodai Senga was a damn steal last year. So to give Imanaga, who they're looking for guys with upside, to pay him only $15 million with this current starting pitching market, the pitchers are getting crazy amounts of money. So I don't get it. The thing that people are saying is that Imanaga, since Sango is on the team, maybe he's a guy that only wants to play with on a team where there's only one Japanese pitcher. I don't know, because it is a shame to not have signed the guy if there was a potential to sign him, because it was just right around the money that you're giving. You're giving $14-15 million out. So that was my take on that. Good question. How long does it usually take draftees to reach the majors? I know it's a lot quicker than high school draft picks. Everybody's different, but yeah, obviously the high school, college draftees are going to be a lot more developed since they played in college. But everybody's different, and it really depends on each situation. I remember, I think Michael Conforto, he was a guy who was drafted out of college, I believe so. I mean, he came to the majors pretty quickly. I think it was within months, if I remember right. But I don't think there's a set timetable. I think every situation, every play is going to be evaluated differently. Yeah, yeah. But that's what it looks like. According to what David Stern said, we're going to evaluate pitchers this year. So I'm pretty sure that these guys who were, college draftees, those are going to be the guys who are going to be targeted in terms of being, given the opportunity this year. Those guys are going to be given the opportunity. I know specifically guys like Blade Tidwell, Mike Vassell, Dominic Hamill, Christian Scott, those guys that are at AA and AAA, who are already touching the majors, those guys have to be given a chance. Especially what David Stern said. And I have a quote right here. David Stearns says that good teams are able to assimilate young players on their current major league rosters and still be successful. That's what he said we need to do. We need to be able to assimilate these young players on our Major League Baseball roster, and still we should be successful if you do it in the correct way. And he is absolutely right. If you've seen what the Dodgers have done, they've always been successful in bringing up a pitcher to be at the end of their rotation, and then they turn into a starter. The Braves have done that in the last couple of years. The Braves have done that. They've done that with Strider. They've done that with Vaughn Grissom to an extent, but then he was obviously traded away for Chris Sale. But the Braves have done that. So teams do that. You got to bring up your young talent. You got to see how they play at the major league level. At least you know what you have. And obviously, like I mentioned, starting pitching is very expensive. So knowing what starting pitching talent you have in your minor league and evaluating that is essential. The quicker you figure that out, the better. Hey, what's up, Scott? Hopefully you're having a great night as well. So you're right. Hey, Hopeful as well. The way it looks, because of their tax situation, they're paying double for any player. So if a player is $15 million, they're really playing near 30, and that's where the situation we are. And everybody was saying how we're going to reset the tax. We're going to reset the tax. Well, we're way over 297. 297 is the highest tax threshold. So as Scott mentioned, right now, everybody we sign is going to be a double tax. So Sean Manaea, we paid him around $14 million a year. Like Scott mentioned, we're going to be paying Sean Manaea close to $28 million right now. So every guy we invest in at this moment, we're paying double the contract. That just goes to show you that in 2024, we have to be going for it. Or else, why the hell would you pay Sean Manaea double the contract? So I wholeheartedly believe, when I heard Stearns today, and I implore everybody check it out. Stearns had an interview today with John Heyman and Joe Sherman. They did a good job. They asked him a lot of tough questions. They asked him a lot of questions about this offseason and about the season going forward, Pete Alonso, if we're going to spend more money. And he kept assuring us that he will spend more money and that he will take advantage of opportunities. He will. And the goal is to make the playoffs every year. That is the goal. There is no punt year. So, and it's blatantly obvious right now. I wasn't sure a few weeks ago if we were going to go over 297. I thought that, hey, you know what? Maybe we're going to make some trades and shed some payroll, and David Stearns was going to figure out a way to do things under the 297. Once we went over 297, and especially now we're about 20, 25 million over, now all bets are off. Now it's all about winning. Steve Cohen is going to have to pay a heck of a bill for 2024. He already paid $101 million in taxes for 2023 and for that crappy year. So I don't think this man could stomach that much losing. So I anticipate us to continue to keep building. Hey, what's going on, Stoney? Hi, Mets Nation. Do you believe we will be a playoff team this year or wait to become one next year? Well, like I was just mentioning, we're going to try to be a playoff team this year. Now, do I think we're going to be a playoff team going into the season? It might be tough. It might be tough. But David Stearns is a guy who is always wheeling and dealing. So by the time we get to the trade deadline, that'll be more fair for us to evaluate, because I think that and David Stearns kind of he kind of reflected on this, and he kind of I can't think of the word, but he was kind of saying that between now and the trade deadline, there's a lot of time. A lot of moves can be made. Even if we don't sign guys, you could still make trades. There still can be ways for us to acquire talent. And, you know, he gives me the impression that he's always going to try to build talent. And in terms of signing free agents, if there's a player out there that's going to significantly make the Mets team better, I could see the Mets doing it. I really can. I don't think money's an issue. I really don't think money's an issue, especially after last year. You got the richest owner in baseball. He's not getting any younger. He has to sell all this stuff. He wants to do all these projects around Citi Field. It's all built around the Mets. You need a product. You need a product to attract people to all these new surrounding development things. So it's going to be all built around the Mets. So it is going to be very important for the Mets to be good now and in the future. So, Game, you're right. The Dodgers paid a lot in payroll and got knocked out in the first round. So throwing money isn't the way. It's a mixture. Well, if you paid attention to the Dodgers, and, you know, I didn't really pay attention too closely, but when I did try to figure out why they got knocked out, like literally the whole rotation last year was injured. So you're kind of right, because if you spend a lot of money, if we witnessed this so many times, injuries could really take a toll on a team. That's why I don't want us to give up. You know, I mean, your point is actually a good reason for us to not give up this year. Yes, we can't spend money in the wrong places, but if we spend money in the right places, like you could look at Texas and you could look at the Phillies. Those two teams have spent a lot of money in the free agency. You know, in the last couple of years, the Phillies, I didn't look at them as a World Series team 2 or 3 years ago, but they invested money in the right areas, and, you know, every single year they're World Series contenders. With the Texas Rangers, they made a All right. Sorry about that. No clue what the heck happened. No clue. And I don't even know how the heck this was still streaming for the last 5 minutes. Everything just like went off. Literally, I just went on my phone to see like what the heck's going on. And I'm like, all right, you know what? The stream's still on. Let me try to figure this out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could stream on your phone. I mean, like if you really wanted to, but like it's usually easier if you have like a computer or a laptop or something. Yeah, so thank you everyone for sticking around. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm not like really a tech person, so just turning it on and turning it off and turning it back on. That's the best I could do. All right, so let's talk about. Okay, so another technique or another strategy that Stearns was trying to take this offseason, and it was kind of like obvious, it was kind of evident what he was doing when he signed Severino, and when he was signing a few of these players, even like Harrison Bader to an extent, Adrian Hauser. He said that he was trying to sign players that were not coming off a good year, but have been successful, that have successful stuff. But obviously, if they haven't been successful in the recent history or recent, they weren't going to be as expensive. So Luis Severino, he's banking on the fact that this guy can come back to form. I mean, he was successful in 2021, and obviously, below that, he's had a lot of injuries. But if this guy can channel his abilities, there could be something there. And if, like I said last night, I mentioned this last night, we've been a team that has historically let guys go, and the guys have went on to be successful. I mean, in recent history, you have Justin Turner, you had Daniel Murphy go off for the Nationals. Obviously in Philadelphia, you have Zach Wheeler. Why can't we be the team who nabs these guys and then these guys be successful on our team? That's what David Stearns this year has to do. He has to thread the needle this year, because this year is the transition year. And that's what we all have to recognize. This year is a transition year. And this year, we're not going to be going pedal to the metal. 2025, 2026, I think we're going to see a whole different strategy. That's part of the David Stearns experience. This year is going to be the year where we have to thread the needle while still building a foundation. This year, we're going to have to build a foundation for next year, because they asked David Stearns, they said, are future stars going to want to sign with the New York Mets? Why would players want to sign with the Mets? Because it doesn't look like we're doing much. And David Stearns says, why wouldn't a player want to come to New York? We have the most money. We have the best city in the United States. We have stars. We have good young players. And next year, the young players are going to be somewhat developed. And you're still going to have a core here. You're still going to have the best shortstop in the major leagues. You're still going to have a dynamic outfielder in Brandon Nimmo, who looks like, even though he's in his 30s, it looks like he's getting better. I mean, he's hit the most home runs he ever did last year. You still have the best closer in the game. You still have Kodai Senga, and who has ace-like potential. And if some of our young kids actually develop, Francisco Alvarez, who could be he could be a top 3 catcher next year. We have talent. We have a core. We just got to build around that core and expand. So it is exciting. It is exciting. Of course, in the past couple of years, we've been spoiled. We've been spoiled. I've been spoiled. Last year, Carlos Correa, That's when I started my channel. I started my channel when we were signed Carlos Correa because I was through the roof. I'm like, you know what? I got to go and I got to talk about this because I was so damn excited. I thought we had a World Series team. We signed Verlander. We built off 2022 when we won 101 game. I thought last year was the year. Now going, those first 2 or 3 months, we kind of treading water. Then, like I said, June came and it just was a punch in the face. And we just had to think differently and we had to do things differently. Obviously, Buck Showalter was a casualty. Billy Epler, he might have been here, but I don't think that was ever going to work out. But we got our man. We got our man, David Stearns. So now, and looking into the future, I think there's a lot of things to be happy about. There really is. We got spring training in about a month, or a little over a month in 2 weeks. So it's going to be a lot of focus on the young kids. And I'm telling you right now, I believe we are going to add a significant player between now and opening day. That mark my word. That's what I feel. I feel from reading the tea leaves, from seeing all the negativity out there, and I think that might be by design. Last year you had everybody hyping up the Mets. This year you have everybody hyping down the Mets, lowering expectation, and a lot of those lowered expectations are coming from the Mets. So I think that is more or less a strategy. It's a strategy, and why not? In everything you do, if you have lower expectations, it's easier to exceed them. I mean, it's just common sense. If you have stinky or sucky expectations, if you do better than those expectations, you're considered a success. And so David Stearns says the goal is to make the playoffs. Well, with the expanded playoffs, the Mets being the highest payroll in all of Major League Baseball should make the playoffs. They should make the playoffs. So it's yet to be seen. We're going to see what happens. I still think we're going to add a bat. We're going to add a top flight pitcher, and we're going to add to the bullpen. Now, if we do all of that, there's no reason why we can't make a run. I'm not going to say Philadelphia is heads and shoulders above us. Why is Philadelphia heads and shoulders above us? Last year, in the beginning of last year, we were considered better than Philadelphia. Not much has changed. Yes, we lost Verlander, we lost Scherzer, but Kodai Senga was never considered to be the ace, so Kodai Senga equals 1 ace. Now, if we add another starting pitcher, I think that duo could be better than the Verlander and Scherzer duo of last year. Stoney, this is a good comment because I was actually a little down, a little depressed before the Sean Manaea signing. But Sean Manaea, if you break down what his career is, like he was a guy who was a soft tossing lefty. He was a guy, his fastball in 2020 was 90 miles per hour. 90 miles per hour. Now he's got a big frame. He's 6'5". He went to Driveline and they reworked everything. He added 4 to 5 miles per hour on the fastball. I mean, that is significant. The guy is a lefty. So to have a 95 mile per hour fastball that touches 97, oh my God, he became a different pitcher. And if you look at his stats last year, he got better as the year went on. So he's a guy with untapped upside, and you gave him a contract where he is an opt-out. So he has all the reason and all the motivation in the world to have a breakout year. If he has a breakout year, Sean Manaea he could bank. He could really make a lot of money. So this guy has a lot of incentive to do well. Same thing with Luis Severino. Not only are we signing guys that have a lot of potential, we are signing guys who have all the motivation in the world. So that's why 2024, we cannot give up on 2024. My expectations, like I always say, expectations are World Series or bust. For me, that's my word. That's my expectation. Those are the same expectation for the New York Yankees. We're in New York City. Why not? Why not up? Game. Good point. The guy looks like Aquaman, so he should at least be able to be a good pitcher. Mad TV or SNL had a skit lower expectations. That should be the. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That should be our theme this year. Lower expectations. That was a problem last year. Honestly, that was a problem. Our expectations last year were through the damn roof. So it was very easy for us to fail. Now, this is going to be interesting. I mentioned this last night as well. What's going on with Marcus Stroman? It looks like the Yankees are trying to bark up that tree. Last week, it seemed like the Yankees were not interested at all, but now the Yankees seem to be talking. Stroman deleted all of his Twitter. He deleted all of the posts because 2 or 3 years ago, when Brian Cashman didn't go after Stroman crushed Brian Cashman on Twitter. I don't get this guy. Why the heck, if you want to, you're a major league professional, why the heck would you crush a GM or a president? It makes no sense. Think about your future. Be smart. So now he's deleted all of his social media from the past, and now he's trying to really kind of suck up to Brian Cashman and the Yankees because he really wants to come to the Yankees, apparently. So, Game, you're right. I like the Mania signing because he once challenged someone to a fight. Mets need fighters, not pansies. Mets, I guess you're saying that's what they've had. But you know what? That's a point to an extent because last year was, what was really unacceptable about the Mets last year, and I'm sure we all noticed this. The thing that was completely unacceptable was the way pitchers were allowed to pitch to Alonso, right? So Alonso got hit many, many times. And not only did he get hit, he got brushed off the plate probably at least 100 times. I mean, the way they pitched Alonso was unacceptable. Unacceptable. Yeah, they had nobody in the 5 hole. So if they hit Alonso, there was no fear. There was no repercussion. That's why David Stearns, if you're listening to this, you got to sign a 5 guy. You got to sign a 5th hitter because they were pitching Pete Alonso so disrespectfully. If they hit the guy, they hit the guy. If they throw in, jam him, there was no repercussion. There's not a guy in the 5th spot who can make the pitcher pay. And there wasn't a guy on our mound who can make the opposing batters pay. So, yeah, if Mania is a bit of a tough guy and he's not afraid to throw out a batter, why not? It's actually a part of the game. This is how they settled. This is how they did baseball. Like, Keith Hernandez would tell you. Like, I always like Keith Hernandez. I love his mentality. I love his perspective. I love how he used to say, oh, this is what we used to do. This is how we used to handle this situation. And I'll tell you one thing, bringing up Keith Hernandez was disgusted when he heard that the Mets had a $10 million budget. Was disgusted. The article that I read said that the Mets, the richest owner in baseball, Steve Cohen, having a budget of only $10 million. That's what, that's how I know this whole thing is BS. Like, I don't even want to get back to the Andy Martino stuff. So, Sony, right. I still feel like the Rangers are better than the Dodgers only because the Rangers won the World Series. Well, you know what? You have the, and I kind of have that mentality too. They are the champions right now. And until they are dethroned, they will be viewed as the champions. And then they're going to have, they don't have Scherzer. Scherzer hurt his back. But, I'm not sure when DeGrom is coming back, if he's coming back. But still, they are the champions, and until they are dethroned, I could definitely see that mentality. But the Dodgers, they're going to be one hell of a team. One hell of a team. Another good comment. This year, I think Mendoza will do something when one of our players gets hit by the ball. He won't be afraid like Buck. Yeah, I'm actually interested. I'm actually to see what type of managerial style Mendoza had. I hear that he's not, he's a new manager, yes, and everybody was comparing him to Luis Rojas of a couple years ago, but they're two different personalities. Like this guy is not afraid to get in your face. This guy is not afraid to supposedly, get on a player who needs coaching. And he also has good relationships with players. But I want to see his in-game managerial style. And when things get heated on the field, when in the middle of controversy, how does this guy respond? How does he respond when the times are at the toughest? That's most interesting. I mean, Buck, the good thing about Buck was I never had any fear about him not being knowledgeable. I always knew that he had the knowledge. Was he going to act on it? And which direction was he going to go in? That might have been a concern. And but at the end of the day, like Buck was in a tough position. He really was. I don't even want to, get into the Vogelbach situation, but he had Billy Epler and people telling him what to do. Now, Buck Showalter, who's been in the game for 30, 40 years, there's nobody, in my opinion, that knows more baseball than Buck. So, he was between a rock and a hard place. And it was just really tough for Buck to be successful last year. I really wish that he would have had a chance to take this team and develop. But you know what? A new president comes in, and they have the right to pick their manager. And Carlos Mendoza was the pick. So we're going to see what David Stern saw in Carlos Mendoza. And I'm interested to see what he saw. Okay. So I think this is what we can all kind of take from this. But this video was about Andy Martino possibly, making comments about like, David Stearns and his budget. But at the end of the day, what we've learned from the horse's mouth, from David Stearns, he will have no budget. He works for the richest owner in MLB. There will be no budget. It will be based on a case-by-case situation. How much will this player make our team better now and in the future? Is the investment worth it? Now, at this point, we're well over the Steve Cohen luxury tax, so I don't think money will be an issue. I don't think it will be an issue. And now David Stearns has to prove to Steve Cohen that each signing from now going forward, how much better our team will be made with each additional signing. And I think a guy like David Stearns making the case to Steve Cohen will carry a very heavy weight because this is Cohen's guy. David Stearns is Cohen's guy. And whatever Stearns says is going to carry a huge weight. Now, has all these signing, was that the way David Stearns wanted to go? No, it wasn't. David Stearns did not want to go this way. He did his A plan wasn't to sign Mania, wasn't to sign Severino, wasn't to do what he did. But this was a direction that he wholeheartedly believed in. He believed that there was talent in this direction. There is talent in this core, and this core will be highly motivated. This new pitching staff, this revamped pitching staff will be highly motivated to be successful for 2024. And we're going to have to see about beyond, because next year we're going to be in a very similar situation because a lot of these guys are on one-year contracts. So throughout the course of this year, we're going to have to see if our young kids could step up, jump into the rotation, and we're going to have to see if a trade happens. And that's why I feel a trade is going to happen, because David Stearns is going to trade for a pitcher that is signed for 2025 and beyond, at least for 2025, because he's focused on this year, but he's also focused on next year. I'm going to bring this up. Okay, so everybody's wondering, hey, if we trade for a guy like Dylan Cease, who would be prospects? Who would be the prospects that would be traded? So this is an article that kind of talks about a trade and which prospects that potentially could go. So I wanted to look at that and examine it and see how realistic this could be. So Mets prospects who could be traded for Cease. All right, so the New York Mets have reported interest in Dylan Cease. The right-handed ace is on the market. However, what are the White Sox looking for the 28-year-old? So, according to Jim Bowden of The Athletic, so Jim Bowden is the guy who was killing the Mets. So I'm not sure how accurate this is going to be. So he says that Chicago has been asking teams for their top prospects. Bowden notes that it's fair to assume that the New York names that they'd be interested would be Luis Angel Acuna, Kevin Parada, Drew Gilbert, and others. He also noted that the asking price of the White Sox is right now unrealistic. Considering Cease has 2 years left on his current contract, he fits what Steve Cohen is looking for at the moment. The Mets want to be competitive. Okay, we know that with Cease having an extra year. Okay. Okay. All right. So, right now, the reason why a deal has not come to fruition for the White Sox is they are asking for the stars, the moon, everything they are asking. Same thing with the Marlins. Same thing with the Marlins. They have a couple young pitchers who have a lot of trade value and more trade value than Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease only has 2 years left, and he's coming off a year which wasn't the best. Now he has great baseball savant numbers, and he has very good stuff. He's in the top tier, and all his baseball savant numbers. He's a very talented guy. It didn't translate. Now he's 28 years old, and he's only got 2 years left. So for the White Sox to expect all these top prospects, it's not going to happen. If you traded Cease 2 years ago when he had 4 years left and he was at the top of his game, yes, you could have asked for a lot more. But right now, the White Sox have to come right back down to reality. And once they come back down to reality, like if you're the Mets, would you be willing to give up a top prospect? Let's just say we're only going to build it around a Jet Williams or a Luis Angel Acuna, and then you give up 2 other guys, but they're not in your top tier. Maybe they'll be more middling. Maybe it would take Luis Angel Acuna, maybe a Kevin Parada, and maybe a low-level pitcher. Would you do that trade? Well, that's something that maybe I can foresee. Luis Angel Acuna, Kevin Parada, and some type of middling level pitcher. Maybe a Dominic Hamill. Maybe that's a package the White Sox would consider. But for the Mets, would you want to give up an Acuna that you acquired last year for Scherzer, that you're still paying Scherzer's contract for? Would you want to give up on Kevin Parada? Would you want to give up, one of your mid-league prospects? Probably that's not more of a concern. But the concern is you would only have Cease for 2 years. Now, even if you have confidence that he's going to turn it around, you're only going to have him for 2 years, and you're going to have to give up a crap ton of prospects. Now, if the package was revolved around, if it was built around Kevin Parada, I would have more of a stomach for it. I really would. Now, this package I'm talking about, I would want to trade it more for one of the Marlins pitchers. The Marlins pitchers have more years of control. You're really giving up. You're paying for control. You're paying for control. So if you're going to give up on Luis Angel Acuna and a Kevin Parada, I need more than 2 years. I need more than 2 years. That's me. If you want to build a package around Kevin Parada and potentially get a top tier prospect, Kevin Parada is still a top tier prospect. He is. He hasn't been successful in his last year, but I could stomach that trade. That's just me. Yeah, I think right now a lot of people would give up Parada. And maybe that's not such a good thing right now because maybe you are selling low, but I don't care. If it got me a pitcher like Dylan Cease for the next 2 years, I would build a package around Parada. I don't really see the White Sox accepting that. Let me see the Marlins. All right, so this is I got some information on Lizardo. Let's see. No. And also too, I'm not really sure, like, what's going on, the Marlins strategy, why they want to unless they got that much pitching, but you know, I'm a little confused about, why they want to trade some of these like really young arms. What's their deal? But okay, I guess that doesn't really matter. So Jesus Luzardo is a 26-year-old. He's got 4 years left of control. Luzardo has a medium surplus value of 63.3 over at baseball trade values. So that places him in roughly the same ballpark as number one MLB prospect Jackson Holiday. Jackson Holiday has a value of 68.9. So what that means, they're trying to equate value. So they're saying that Luzardo's trade value is 63, 64. So that's almost equivalent to the top prospect in all of MLB. And just so you know, like I think our most valuable asset, if I remember right, is Francisco Alvarez. His baseball trade value is about, I think, 63. And then Nimmo's like in the upper 50s too. But Alvarez has around a 60 something. So I mean that's what baseball trade values would equate a fair trade. Alvarez for Luzardo. But do you want to trade Alvarez? I wouldn't want to trade Alvarez. I'd want to build a package a different way. But that's the definition of what would be a fair trade. Yeah, Alvarez. I love Alvarez. Alvarez, I think is going to be a beast. I think defensively, he's a lot better than people projected, and offensively, I think we've only skimmed the surface of the guy's potential. I mean, if I always mention this, but I always look how hard a guy works out, because that just tells me how good he's going to be in the future. You know, you see some guys who are lazy in the offseason, and then you see other guys like Ronnie Mauricio who wants to play every single goddamn day, and then you see Alvarez who's always working out, he's always in the gym. These two guys are working towards being more and more successful. And he's a guy that work hard every day, like Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter was a guy who was always trying to work hard every day. If you're lazy and you don't take advantage of your talent, that's why so many of these guys fail. But you got these two young studs with the mentality that they need to get better every single day. That's why I love Francisco Alvarez and I love Ronnie Mauricio. And Ronnie Mauricio, like, is a damn beast, a 6'3" switch hitter. You know, it's such a shame he got injured. And then also, too, Francisco Alvarez, you know, is a beast as well. So I'm very excited to see both those guys. Hopefully, Ronnie Mauricio comes back sometime this year. And I think it's still a possibility because, you know I mentioned this. I tore my ACL. Obviously, I'm not an athlete, but my recovery time was about 4 months. And, you know, even if they do 4 to 6 months, he'll still come back at the end of the year. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back in sometime in August. And if the Mets are competitive to add a dynamic player like that, you know, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, game. I mentioned that last year. Alvarez, when he was like on pace for 40 home runs, I'm like, yeah, I definitely bat him behind Alonso. Anything would be better than Vogelbach. And I just don't know if the Mets want to put the pressure on the kid that early. He's gonna have a lot of pressure on him. You know, Pete's a monster. He's a beast. Guys are going to be pitching around him. I know people are going to be hitting Pete, and you know, I'd like to take pressure off Alvarez. But then again, maybe Alvarez is a guy who, you know, wants the pressure. He wants these, you know, pressure situations. You know, what I found interesting, and I don't know who heard this, they said that Francisco Alvarez's pulse rate in the batter's box has the lowest pulse rate out of any minor league player. So, I mean, this guy is calm, cool, and collected. So maybe he's a guy that doesn't get bothered and doesn't get too excited. So that's something that you know, can't be underrated. A guy who stays calm and relaxed in the box, that's actually pretty rare. Stoney, you're right. Severino. Did you see him yesterday when they screened him? Guy looked jacked in the shoulders. I was impressed. I kind of caught bits and pieces. I didn't see the whole stream, but you know, yeah, no, the guy does look like he's in good shape. And you know what? This is his opportunity. This is his chance. And this is the specialness of these group, this cluster of Manaya, of Severino. These guys have to be so damn motivated. They have to be motivated. Not only do they have talent, they have to be motivated. And that's what we like. That's what I like about these signings. Hey, what's up, Robbie? How can they be out of money if they offered 320 million to Yamamoto? He said no. Yeah, it's silly. They're not out of money. It's a guy who's just saying they're out of money because he knows it's something that will get a lot of attention because it's obviously not true. You're saying the richest owner in baseball doesn't have money and doesn't have 10, you know, is only wants to spend $10 million. Come on. That's silly. It's silly. And then obviously 320 million still up for grabs. If they find a player, Yamamoto doesn't have it. Yep, you know, yeah, the Yamamoto money we can use elsewhere. And you know, Stearns is gonna want to make his mark. You know, everybody wants to make their mark on their team. I mean, even when Jared Porter came to the Mets, I mentioned this. He signed. He traded for Francisco Lindor. Obviously, signed him a couple months later. But that was his move. That was his stamp that he put on the Mets right away, trading for a guy like Francisco Lindor. We haven't seen that move, that transitional or that transformational move. There's going to be a transformational slash signature move. David Stearns, mark my word, will have a signature move. It's not Luis Severino. It's not Shomania. It's not Adrian Hauser. There will be a signature move. There will be a signature signing. It will. There will. David Stearns is a guy who is very calculated. He's a calculated guy. And, and I think that's why him and Steve Cohen get along. And he actually said him and Steve Cohen are like gelling very, 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 very well. So Steve Cohen must like what he says. And I remember Steve Cohen, when he was talking about Sandy Alderson 3 or 4 years ago, he was saying that him and Sandy are always on the phone. So Steve Cohen really cares about this team. He truly does. Now he has a guy who is going to be a little more fiscally responsible in the driver's seat. And I don't think that's such a bad thing. I don't think that's such a bad thing. At the end of this year, you're going to have a bunch of money coming off the books, and it will put Stearns in a good situation. So spend the money this year, sign these guys to these contracts, have them opt out, give Soler an opt out. That's what I would do. I'd sign Soler to a contract, a 1-year contract, and then he can opt out after 1 year or have an option for the second year. But let the guy opt out, right? We don't need the guy for long term, but you give the guy incentive to have a monster year, right? Put Soler in the DH. And I know I've been talking about Soler for months and months. Who haven't been hearing my screams, my cries for this, but entice this guy. Give him a lot of money. Give him $25 million. Beat every other number, and then make it a 1-year contract or an opt-out. Whatever you got to do. I want to beef up the talent of this team. Anything can happen. Like it was mentioned earlier, I think Game mentioned this. There were injuries. The Dodgers, they got knocked out early in the playoffs last year because they had injuries in their rotation. So things can happen. No matter how good you're set up, it could go to hell quickly. We've seen when we had our rotation set from 2015 to 2020. I don't know if there was a time we had our 5-man rotation when we had Harvey, Matz, Syndergaard, DeGrom, Wheeler. I think there was probably only a few games where we had that 5-man rotation. A few games in 5 years. So you just really never know. You could plan for the best, but the worst can still happen. Yeah, Stoney, we spoke about this before. Like, it was the Imanaga signing. And before we get into that, I just want to thank everybody who's listening to this live and on replay. I can't thank you enough. If you can also it helps out the video tremendously. If you're not a subscriber, why not hit the subscribe button? Okay, so the Imanaga signing was something I didn't get. It was right within the range that the Mets are paying their pitchers. Imanaga, the Mets are looking for pitchers with upside. Imanaga is a guy with tons of upside. The only thing that maybe the Mets weren't interested, maybe they weren't interested in a 3-4 year contract. I know there's opt-outs. I know it's a very creative contract. It could be as high as $60 million. The average annual value is around $15 million, like I mentioned. But I don't get it. The biggest thing I can assume is that Imanaga wasn't interested in signing with the Mets. That's what I have to assume, because even going to 3 or 4 years, this, with the starting pitching market, starting pitchers are making double that. Mediocre starting pitchers are going to make double that in 3 or 4 years. So to pay him $15 million over the course of 4 years, it doesn't really seem like a bad option. I mean, if you intend Severino or Hauser or Manaea to be your 4th or 5th starter, you're paying those guys close to $15 million. So, Yeah, it seemed like it's an opportunity that the Mets tried to go down, but I think at the end of the day, Imanaga, for some reason or another, it had to be this because I can't see Stearns not seizing this opportunity, especially after Kodai Senga's masterful performance last year and how successful he's been. It had to be something where Imanaga didn't want to come to the Mets. Maybe he didn't want to pitch with another Japanese pitcher. I don't know. I wish he would have. I would have liked that because that would have looked nice. That could have been your guy that had that number two or potentially ace like potential. Game. Let me get to your question. So, only thing that scares me about average is that he reminds me of Baez with his swings. He hits it hard or misses by a mile. Um, you know what? I didn't really get a biased feel from him at all. In the last month and a half, Alvarez got tired. He wasn't used to playing that much, so his swing and miss rate probably went up. But in the first 2 3 months, the guy was a stud. I mean, let me go back to some of his numbers because in my opinion, I didn't get that biased feel at all. Okay, I mean, like looking at the overall numbers, and I forgot his average was that low. His overall numbers: 25 home runs, 63 RBIs. His batting average was 209. His slug was 437. His OPS was 721. His OPS plus was only 95. So he wasn't even at the average ball player. What was I looking at? So he had Okay, so he had 110 strikeouts. Um, I'm gonna bring this up on Baseball Savant. But here's the thing: like, this guy's a rookie too, so I don't think he's anywhere close to being a finished product. So, did he have failures in his rookie year? Yes, he did. Maybe he was a little too home run happy, and it didn't work out. But I think the guy's gonna continually get better. Okay, so this is his Baseball Savant page. And like I said, he's a guy who's in his rookie year, and he's going to get a lot better. How many times have we seen a Met catcher besides like Piazza back in the day hit 25 home runs? He was on pace for almost 40 home runs at one point in the season. He just like really died out in the last 2 months. Now his numbers aren't ultra impressive. Um, Really, like obviously, this is probably the thing that most people are upset about. His expected batting average was right around his real batting average. He batted 209, and his expected batting average was 209, which is in the 2 percentile. So, that's horrible. That's not good. But, I look at the things that we can build off of. His catching, his defense was something that wasn't highly touted, but he was the 95th percentile in framing. So that was great. He was in the 67th percentile in pop time. So that was good. So, he had some really good statistics here. Hard hit, he was in the 72nd percentile. Barrel, 84th percentile. Average exit velocity, 65th. Chase rate, 68th percentile. So, you know, based on Ball's 42nd percentile. I anticipate these numbers to really go up. It's his rookie year. I'm trying to cut the guy some slack. I'm not really evaluating him like I would evaluate a seasoned veteran. I mean, let's look at Javier Baez. I'm pretty sure if you look at Javier Baez and Francisco Alvarez, yeah, their numbers are probably going to look similar. But you're talking about a rookie and you're talking about a seasoned vet. Look at this. Okay, so look, as we see like right now, Javier Baez, a seasoned vet. Look, this is horror. This is these numbers are putrid. He doesn't even have one category where he's above 42. So thank God the Mets didn't sign him. Thank God the Mets didn't sign him. In the field, okay, he's got range and he's got arm strength. He's got decent sprint speed, but the guy was supposed to be a decent hitter, and this is pathetic. This is pathetic right here. So in terms of a rookie hitter, I would say that good stuff. I gotta really, I gotta give it to Alvarez. I really do. Oh wow, man. Uh Stony, thank you so much. Honestly, I don't know what to say. I really appreciate that. I'll always answer your questions and actually, now that you bring this up, I said this to the beginning. There's been some comments that have been deleted, and if you heard this, I apologize for the people that have heard this, but I don't delete any comments. I don't. There is a filter on my channel that it's supposed to safeguard against like people who are bullying and harassing. So like if somebody's name calling and stuff like that, YouTube will automatically delete that. But there have been some comments that like didn't weren't bullying, weren't harassment. They were regular comments, and somehow they were deleted. I like I said, I don't delete any comments. I don't even delete comments that are not the best. I usually just send a message saying, "Hey, take it easy, watch out, because yeah, YouTube may delete your comments." So, again, I apologize to all the great members and Stony. Again, I cannot thank you enough. I really, really can't. It means a lot to me. Yeah, game. Honestly, I don't know what to say. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate everyone here. I really do. Okay, so yeah, back to the Javier Baez comparison. It's not out of the realm. I mean, they do both swing and miss, and they're both guys who have low averages and can hit home runs. But Javier Baez, like, I didn't realize how poor he did in 2023. I mean, he hit 9 home runs at two. He batted 222, 9 home runs. Looking at this, I'm like, did the guy miss half the season? But he had 510 ABs. So Javier Baez is a guy I'm so glad we didn't sign. Especially, I didn't think he was a good influence on Francisco Lindor. I did not think he was. Oh shoot, yes. I don't know. Everybody was telling me. I literally had one of the original people that I've been on the channel for about a year now. Original subscribers. Somebody I know for a very long time was thinking I deleted their comments. It's like, oh, I'm gonna unsubscribe. I'm like, no, I would never do that. I would, even if we disagree. I like to disagree with people. That's the fun of it. I don't. Nobody's supposed to agree with everything I say. It's more fun when we disagree. I don't know if anybody saw this article. This article just came out a couple hours ago, and it's so funny. They reference Andy Martino in this article as well. Um, but it goes, Mets reportedly will add a hurler soon. Could a big move be coming for New York? So they go, the New York Mets may still have at least one move up their sleeve. And I 100% believe this. And is this the signature move? I don't know. But I know there's a signature move coming, and I know we have one big move left. So New York hasn't made a major splash this offseason, but instead has opted for smaller moves with upside. The most notable moves for the Mets this point, adding Luis Severino and Sean Manaea. The Mets still have work to do, likely won't spend big. Although this is the case, New York reportedly is still pursuing bullpen help and will add a hurler soon, according to SNY's Andy Martino. So Andy Martino today is saying they're going to add bullpen help and will add a hurler soon. I'm trying to see, was this a couple of days ago? Well, the guy put this article out 10 hours ago. So Andy, you last night said that the Mets are spending $10 million, but today said the Mets are adding bullpen help and another hurler. I don't get it. I don't get it unless this is old information. Um, as reported on the Hot Stove Show last night, the Mets are active in the relief market, Martino said. They will add to the bullpen soon. Plenty of good option. No, so this is a new article. And this article is saying, am I reading this right? This makes no sense. This is today. The Mets still have some work to do, but likely won't spend big. Although this is the case, New York reportedly is still pursuing bullpen help and will add a hurler soon. Okay, I got it. So the bullpen is the hurler. Okay, I got it. I got it. I got to read these things closely. All right, I'm going to get back to that article, but game. So Baez and Correa might have played better in NYC with constant support from Puerto Rican community fans. They don't get that in Detroit and Minnesota. Yeah, I'm not really sure how the communities are over there. I know in New York City there's a big Puerto Rican community, so I could definitely see you know everybody coming out to the game and stuff like that, and that could be extremely motivating. But Baez, nobody was interested in Baez. Nobody was interested in Baez. I remember that was when shortstops were getting 250, $300 million, and then Baez got like $125 million contract. So, I mean, it was a guy with a lot of holes in his game, a lot of holes in his swing, and he was kind of like a loose cannon. So why would you, invest a lot of money in that guy? I mean, I'm just so glad the Mets didn't go down the road. Do you see us getting another bat? I do. I do. I do. I see us, the off season far from over. And my eyes, the off season is far from over. After Sean Manaea, I see us still getting another starting rotation guy, another bullpen guy, and another bat. That three more significant moves in my eyes. Um, and that's before opening day. That's before opening day. This is let's not forget. This is a Steve Cohen owned team. Steve Cohen owns a team right now, not the Wilpons. Now, Andy Martino would probably, like you to believe that the Wilpons and Steve Cohen are similar, but Steve Cohen spent almost $400 million on the team. We have the highest payroll this year, and we are still adding. We are still adding. So, I think there's no doubt. It's only a matter of time right now. It's smart right now. We're evaluating the market, and we're trying to get the best deal and the best players as possible. All right, so this article, okay, this is a pretty boring article. This just talks about Andy Martino's bullpen options. Anybody know any good bullpen options? Good point, Robbie. Yeah, he's not going to be the issue. He's not. He's not. We're going to have one of the top catchers in baseball. Bottom line, third base. You're absolutely right. That's yet to be seen, and that's why is Turner the best bat out there? No, but That's why I was a bit high on him because, um, he could provide that insurance until a guy like Brett Beatty develops. All right, so let me look up that guy. I want to see what his savant numbers are. Okay, so this is the guy we're looking at right now. Brent Sutter. Wow. Let me see 2022. And this is what kind of like really amazes me. I mean, this guy, he's 34 years old. So he's been around the block, but he's been successful in Colorado. So I mean, any pitcher who's been successful in Colorado, you really got to like give him a lot of credit. Now, the thing that he's really been successful is he's been in the 99th percentile, and in the last 3 years, he's been in the this. Nobody's been able to hit him hard. His hard hit percentage is in the 99th percentile. That is insane. That is insane. I mean, like these numbers are, he's got very good numbers. I mean, he's probably going to get over $10 million. Expected ERA 88th percentile. Expected batting average. Average exit velocity. I guess that goes hand in how hard hit percentage. That's probably a very similar stat. 100th percentile. So they don't make hard contact off this guy. Expected slug 316, so that's extremely low. And the launch angle's been going down throughout the years. So he's not a big K guy. He's not a big K guy. Like, isn't this like really interesting? Like, how a guy can be so successful. Like, you look at the baseball savant numbers of this guy. He doesn't throw the ball hard. He doesn't strike out guys, but he somehow has a way where the guys don't, the hitters don't hit the ball hard. They don't hit the ball hard of this guy. Yeah, I mean, I'd be like heavily interested in this guy. I just don't. If he's a free, I mean, so um, I'm assuming he's going to want like a decent amount of money. But it just seemed like he'd be a decent investment. Like, so would you want to put him in the eighth inning? Um, like right now, we don't have an eighth inning guy. We don't. We got Diaz in the ninth. So we're essentially right now, we're essentially looking for our eighth inning guy. And I think this guy right now, he doesn't give up a lot of contact. Okay, he's not a strikeout guy. He doesn't have a heavy fastball. He's very good next to Edwin Diaz. Talk about polar opposite. This guy throws slow from the left side, and you got Edwin Diaz, a fireballer from the right side. I do like having that mix in the bullpen. But if you sign Sutter or Suter, however you pronounce his name, I still would want another bullpen guy. Maybe I'd want another guy. I'd want to sign him and somebody else. I'd want to sign him and maybe David Robertson. Like David Robertson, I think is a guy that would take less money to come to Queens. I think he enjoyed playing in Queens. Um, but this is an awesome option. Let me see, and I know that this guy is going to be making a lot of money, but let me see what his savant numbers are. Okay, so this is a guy that everybody was clamoring for, Jordan Hicks. He's 27 years old. So this is the almost kind of like the polar opposite. Jordan Hicks, his fastball velo is in the 100th percentile. He averages, or it gets up to 100.1 miles per hour. So you got two guys who do it completely differently. I mean, this is a guy like I would want, but I know he's gonna be more money. But to pair him with an Edwin Diaz would look so nasty. I mean, we spent so much money. Why not get Hicks and get Sutter and Stoney, like Aaron Loop. Aaron Loop, I don't think has been successful in recent history. But you know what? With the Mets, he was dominant. Haven't the Mets already signed a ton of relief pitchers? Yeah, they've signed a bunch of like really kind of, I don't want to use the word garbage pitchers, but guys who aren't really proven to be like these guys. I mean, if you plan on contending, the relief pitchers we sign are more or less sixth, seventh inning guys. I need a guy who's going to dominate, who's going to lock down the Philly lineup, lock down the Atlanta lineup in the eighth inning. Like the guys that we sign, like those no name guys, yeah, maybe one or two of them might break out, but I want more of a sure thing if my goal is to contend. Yeah, they're no name relief pitchers until they earn then until they make a name for themselves. Oh wow, maybe I'm being disrespectful. Maybe they see like a guy like Brooks Raley as the eighth inning guy. Maybe I'm being disrespectful because Raley had a really good year. I just don't see him. I see like if you want a strong bullpen, you want Brooks Raley pitching in the seventh inning. All right, let's see. All right, let's look up a couple of these Mets guys. Johan Ramirez. Johan Ramirez. This is a guy that is on our New York Mets. Oh, so he didn't qualify. He didn't pitch a lot. So his extension was in the 95th. Let me see. It was 20. I mean, like if you look at these numbers, like from Johan Ramirez, I mean, this is not in terms of the stuff that he has. He definitely has like talent. Look, fastball velocity 95.6. He's in the 85th percentile. Expected batting average. This is in 2020. 149, 98th percentile. Hard hit percentage 89th percentile. Extension 93rd. Average exit velocity 81st percentile. So I mean, like this is a guy that the Mets signed this guy, and this guy has shown potential in the past. So what can you do? Like I don't know how much money we paid him. I'm pretty sure we didn't pay a lot, but that's decent potential right here. He's got some talent here. All right, Stone. Yeah, like Wandy Peralta, he is a beast. Let's look at his numbers. Wow, look at that. Look at this. Look at this jump out. 2023, his ERA was 2.83, but his expected ERA for 2023 was 4.70. 4.70. I mean, that usually indicates that the guy is extremely lucky, but still, I mean, his fastball velocity 80th percentile. He throws about 96. Average exit velocity 88th percentile. Ground ball percentage, so he's a ground ball pitcher. That's good. 96 mile per hour fastball, 89 mile per hour slider, 89 mile per hour changeup. Let's look at 2022. Okay, so look, a lot of times with bullpen guys, it could be one or two batters, one or two home runs really inflate your ERA. Expected ERA for 2022 for Wandy was in the 91st percentile, and you see these numbers are a lot more dominating than 2023. Yeah, bullpen guys, like some years are more dominating than others, but Wandy Peralta has a lot of dominating stuff, and coming from the left side of the plate. Yeah, no, I mean that would be a good option. That really would be a good option. But I gotta say, there are a ton. The relief pitching market has not developed at all. Nobody's really went this year. I gotta say, out of all like hitters, starting pitchers, relief pitchers, it seemed like it's so plentiful. Sometimes there's only a handful of good guys, but this year, you might have a couple of bargains just on the fact that there's just so many options out there. And then you see Stearns is not going to be under pressure to overpay because he signed a lot of relief pitchers. So, game, you're right. If you're good with these new analyst stats, you should make videos explaining these new stats all the kids know about that we old guys don't get. A lot of these new stats, some of them are just like silly. Some of them really are. Um, these stats right here are like more basic, but yeah, I mean that's a good idea. Like Baseball Savant, they really do a good job at like breaking down, but definitely one of my videos are definitely do something like that, especially for you. But even if you go further down, they have like what is it called? It's not here, but Baseball Savant does a really good job, like breaking down all the different stats. Like I love Baseball Savant, but that's a really good idea. And honestly, like I, the basic categories is what a lot of fans really concentrate on: batting average, OPS, walk percentage, strikeout rate. I mean, like all these advanced numbers. That's more or less like if you're like really like crunching numbers. But to sum it all up, and I'm going to be wrapping it up pretty soon. Again, I want to thank everybody in here. Um, Thank you so much. I want you to take away a couple of things. Number one, I don't delete anybody's comments unless they're hurtful. Hurtful. I think I deleted like one or two comments um, in the last year. But number two, the Mets don't have a limit. We don't have a limit. There is no limit on the spending right now. There is no payroll constraints. If David Stearns and Steve Cohen has an opportunity to make this team better, they will make the team better. They will. We have the number one payroll in baseball right now. We have the number one payroll. Steve Cohen is a billionaire. He's got the most money in all the MLB. He's a guy that wants to win. He wanted to win in less than 5 years. I think this is going to be the fourth year that he has owned this team. And, last year was just a disaster. So especially coming off a disastrous 2023, he's going to want to turn this thing around. He has his guy in place. We have the guy, David Stearns, that we wanted to. David Stearns is calculated. David Stearns is a guy who makes moves throughout the season. He's not a guy that just makes moves at the deadline. He's not a guy that just makes moves in free agency. He will be making moves throughout. That's how he's operated, and that's how he will continue to operate. David Stearns, he wants to develop the young kids this year. He says that is his strategy. The good teams, what they do is they bring up the young kids and they assimilate the young kids on the major league roster, and that's how they maintain their level of play, because you can't always sign those mega free agents and sign those pitchers. You need to develop from within, and the Mets are going to give their starting pitchers in the minor leagues. We've mentioned the names a million times: Mike Vassell, Dominic Hamill, Christian Scott. These are guys, Blade Tidwell. These are guys in our minor leagues who are close to the major leagues, and they are going to have the opportunity this year. That's what David Stearns has said today, as recently as today. That is part of the plan, and we will incorporate additional free agents throughout the remainder of the offseason. The $10 million Andy Martino declaration makes no sense to anybody other than Andy Martino. He knows why he said it. He knows why he reported it. I don't know who he got the information from, because if it was David Stearns, I don't think it was David Stearns. I don't think it was Steve Cohen. Why do they want to tell Andy Martino, the most negative Met supporter in the world? Again, if I'm David Stearns and I'm Steve Cohen, I am not communicating anything with Andy Martino, because he likes to put a little negative twist on it. He puts a little negative twist because it's I don't know why. Okay, there we go. The screen just went back on. Screen went back on. All right. To continue the wrap up, we have good bullpen options, as we just went over. We have many arms we could choose from. I believe we're going to at least get one more. We're going to get a bat. I believe we're going to get a bat, and I believe we're going to get a starting pitcher, because we are going to truly compete like David Stearns and like Steve Cohen said, this is what we need. This is what we need. And our advantage, our weapon is our money, our resources. So that's what we need to do, and that's what we will do. Steve Cohen just recently paid $101 million tax bill, and he is going to continue to do that. So, yep. You know, good stuff, Stoney. Good stuff. Like I said, I'm going to wrap it up. I thank everybody watching this on live and on replay. I had a good time. I appreciate everyone. We are going to do a bunch of live streams from now into the season starts. This is how I like to communicate with you. Now I actually live in a place where I can do whatever I want. So I can do all these live streams any time of the day. So, just stay tuned, subscribe, and I will see you very, very, very soon. Have a great night. Let's go Mets. And I think we will be better than some believe.